Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with daily technical update. It is Monday the 13th of October. I do apologize I wasn't here Friday last week when the market really went into some turmoil, when we really saw some corrections in the market, some sell-offs, some spikes and all that. Really volatility really hit the market. We are bouncing a little bit today. But first, I will say I was traveling, so I couldn't do it. I do apologize about that. This video is for educational purpose only. There's no recommendation or advice whatsoever intended. It's purely to demonstrate how I try to read the market using my 30 years of experience and technical analysis. And let's start with Tesla that got hit by more than 6% sell-off Friday. We had a warning about 2 weeks ago on the 2nd of October with this massive bearish engulfing there, and just followed through last week. 410, we have this gap area. If it closes below, then there's risk. If it closes below the 395, if it does that, well, then there could be further selling pressure down to around 365, 370. Also, weekly chart showing top and reversal, bearish engulfing there, following through the last week, and looks quite topish, at least a short term to a little bit of medium term. Nvidia also got hit almost 6% Friday. Massive bearish engulfing here, taking out the past week, the previous week's bullish trading, and a little bit more than that. A shooting star-like pattern, not the perfect one, but nevertheless, market moved higher, then collapsed towards the end. And we do have divergence, as you can see here on the weekly RSI, declining, market moved higher, so really stretched there. So to cancel and reverse to a bullish trend, it needs to take out the peak from last week. Moving on to the technology index, which is has some quite interesting signal. Also a massive move there, bearish engulfing, taking out past 2 weeks or something like that. Trading, forming a bearish engulfing there also on the weekly, despite the fact that there's no divergence on the weekly RSI. So let's see if it will bounce or if it will keep selling, but quite stretched there also. Looking at the Nasdaq 100 index, which is actually closed just above the minor support there, 24,186. It's a stronger support here at 23,969, where we also have the 55 moving average coming up. But we were warned, and I talked about it for a very long time, that we did have some divergence. So there were some warning signals that we were stretched. Last week we saw the bearish engulfing here, which wasn't that hard really, because it was not a big weekly candle the previous week, but I actually also took out the 2 previous weeks of trading. So top and reversal indication was there. Pre-market, however, we are bouncing really strongly, 3% actually here pre-market. So bargain hunters coming in, and here on the CFD, US Nasdaq 100 CFD, we can bounce. You see, tested just this 23,988. RSI bounced from the 40 threshold. If we're looking at the S&P500, just above 6,551, minor support, strong support here at 6,480. And just above 40 threshold on the RSI. But again, we talked about it for so long, divergence on the RSI. It was just a question of time that we could see some corrections. But you have to trust the trend until suddenly something like this happens or plays out. Dow Jones, on the other hand, took out 45,757. Support just above the 55 moving average, so it has turned the tide, and RSI just closed just below 40 threshold. Let's just see US 500 here actually did below its support, below 55 moving average, and but it's bouncing here at 2.25%. More or less the same picture on Dow, 1.7% up here, pre-market bounce from it. So volatile days. If it takes out the lows from Friday, then we can be hit by even heavier selling than what we have seen. Hang Seng in Asia, gap lower, trading just below the 55 moving average there, and gap lower. RSI is still positive. It didn't close below 40 threshold, so that's something to keep an eye on here next few days. What will it do? Will it crawl back above 26,000? And we can see here on the CFD slash the future, massive spike down actually to the 100 moving average and 25,000, and then jump back up. The Nikkei, massive sell of 5% on the future. This is the future. We saw it already reacting Friday there as following through today, this morning here, but still 44,250 support. In the European markets, excuse me, European markets, EuroStoxx50, massive sell-off, of course, Friday, but bouncing here this morning. Market has opened. I'm a little bit late to it, sorry about that. If it can get back above 5,600, then uptrend could resume. But if it takes out Friday low, well, then expect a sell-off down to around 5,400. Here we have the CFD where you can see it actually also bounced from. The DAX index, after showing or spiking to all-time highs, massive sell-off. Didn't close the gap down to 24,113. If it does that, then there could be further selling pressure in it. And the first clue, of course, will be if it breaks below the Friday low there. But we are above the cloud, we are above all moving averages, and still positive sentiment on the RSI. So there's still a chance we could bounce high. Here on the CFD, we can see top reversal pattern, but it is actually the CAS index that you should trust them more. That's where the real interest is. The FX market, of course, more or less across the board, a lot of volatility. There were a few currency pairs that didn't move much, but most of them did actually. Euro dollar below the support there at 115.80. But that was already Thursday. Friday we bounced strongly back above the cloud, but still below 55 and below the 100 moving average, and we actually are in a showing a negative sentiment. I think we could see it push low if it takes out the lows here from last week. Well, then there's potential down to around 140. It needs to get back above the rising trend line, back above the 55 moving average, and possibly around 117 to try to establish a bullish trend. Sterling dollar also lower. So confirmed bearish trend, lower low, lower high, lower low, and I think we could see it selling off to around 132, 130, 175. Euro sterling, on the other hand, there's a lot of volatility, but didn't really move anywhere. On the broader picture is still this bouncing picture here, and what I will do, I will just remove these two here because there's a little bit of noise. There we are. You can see it bounce from the lower rising trend line and the 61.8 retracement and the cloud. I think we will see it bouncing further towards this 87.70, which is the key resistance to keep an eye on. If it takes it out, well, then there's potential much higher towards 89. Yen pairs, massive moves on the yen pairs here. Dollar yen bouncing again this morning. Really strong bounce, 0.75%. But very close to test the 151 support area, just below 150 spot 92, but has bounced then again. Still positive sentiment on the RSI, no divergence, indicating likely higher levels. We can also see it here on the weekly RSI. Positive sentiment are likely to push higher, and we are in a bullish trend, higher highs and higher lows. We are above the cloud and above the all moving averages. Euro yen retraced to 38.2 and then bounced. If it takes out the lows Friday, expect the sell off down to around 174.60. The Aussie yen, massive move down there, very close to closing this. Let's remove this. Sorry about this. Closing this gap here, and what we can also do, add a Fibonacci to this one and see what it went to. basically down to the 786 retracing there at 97.73, just a few pips for it, then it bounced and seems to be resuming uptrend, unless it takes out the lows from Friday. Then we could see it down to around 97, 96.20 possibly. Sterling yen, also a massive move on sterling yen, and let me just adjust this a little bit. We can see that it went to almost 50% now. Didn't get all the way, but it and then now it's bouncing a little bit and could bounce further. As you can see, I added this Fibonacci to it. I think we'll see it at least up to 204 area, 203.95 with 61.8 retracement there. The Aussie dollar. Sell-off there in September, then bounced towards late September, and then another sell-off here down to the 786 here at first to 61.8, up to the resistance there 66.30. Another sell-off. We are on a bearish trend now. Bouncing this morning though to the 38.2 retracement. If it takes out the lows from Friday, then we're looking at 64.15. Dollar Canada was one of the pairs that didn't do much really. You see almost no action, but it did occur a little bit on the 9th, on Thursday, where it actually spiked a little bit higher to this resistance here at 140.73. And let's zoom out a little bit so we can actually see what it really went on. There we are. So it hit this resistance, which we talked about for a couple of weeks. So there was potential to 140 and a quarter. Support here at 138.95. If it takes out the peak there, which is not unlikely, well, then there's potential higher towards 142. Sterling Canada, basically a big range here between 185.45. I was actually saying the lower part of cloud here, and the strong resistance here at 188.40. So in the bigger picture, it's really just trading sideways. A lot of volatility. Euro Swiss that dipped lower Friday below 93. If it wants to come out from its hiding here, there we are. We can see it's been sliding lower and lower and lower and lower and lower and lower and lower, lower. And I think we could still see it lower. And if we're looking at the weekly chart, well, basically we have lower lows also. I think we could see it dropping lower towards 92. Dollar Swiss, and let's zoom in here a little bit so we can see on the daily chart. Excuse me, I have a little bit of a cold apparently that I picked up on my travel maybe. Still potential up to 81, but look at this massive bearish engulfing there. So that would be key. If it takes out 80.75, then I think we'll challenge this resistance and possibly also take it out. Support down here at 79.45. That would be key support. If it moves back below here, well, then we could see downtrend resuming. The dollar index, bullish trend short term, positive sentiment, potential up to 100. If it takes out the spike up there Thursday, which is not unlikely. Otherwise, we could see a little bit of setback down to the 38.2 and the upper part of cloud. And we have the moving averages coming up there at 97.98. On the commodities markets, also some action going on. New all-time high on gold. And if we're zooming out even more and looking at the weekly chart, we can see what seems to be going on. We have this extension, which we have talked about for some other times, so measured from the peak of this triangle-like pattern here to the lows and added to around the breakout price. Well, 200% of that is now 4,175, so there's potential up there as long as we stay above 39.44. Silver also pushing higher, not all-time highs. We have to go really far back to get that, but we are above 2011, pushing higher. And there's no, I mean, look at this, really overbought at the moment, 86.50, and it's really stretched. but no divergence on daily and no divergence on weekly, indicating likely higher levels, at least very short term, but be careful, it's very stretched at the moment. The platinum trying to play catch up, and we can see that it is back to around where we were in 2011. I think it was, we have to go really far back. Yeah, we are back here around these levels there in 13 it was, and also back there in 11, where we are pushing towards at the moment. So still bullish trend, higher highs, higher lows, and so on. There's still potential higher. But if it takes out the lows from Friday, well, 1528 is in play. Copper, also some sell-off Friday in copper. Didn't close above the resistance there at 514.55. So we need to have a close above the cloud. We need to have a close above this resistance there for further upside potential. But there's positive sentiment on the RSI indicating likely higher levels, but it needs to close above there. We corrected down to the almost 50% and then a bounce. Let's see if it can stay that way, or will it continue lower towards 475, 468. Crude oil, massive sell-off, bouncing this morning, but we are in a bearish trend, lower low, lower high, lower low, and there's potential down to these lows here around 55 area on the WTI, which we saw back here in May and April this year. Brent crude oil also lower, below 62.55, minor support. Bearish trend could push lower on the medium term to around 58 area. European and nat gas has basically been trading range bound behavior here for quite some time, and it needs to get it back above 33. I will actually adjust and say it needs to get back above there. So that's 33.90, and to the downside, well, in the bigger picture, it's really trading between 33.30 and 33.90. You can see it's just basically sideways trading. The US nat gas correction down to the 61.8 retracement at 308, bouncing. If it takes out that, well, then we are looking at 294, and we are looking at 270. There we are, 277 area. But I think it could crawl back above the 320. Well, then it could resume uptrend. US 10-year Treasury yields. That was the wrong one. There we are. That's the yield. Down to the 786 retracement. Then it bounced. If it takes out the lows here from this morning or from Friday, well, then we are looking around 4% again. We are in a bearish trend, lower low, lower high, and lower low. And you can see all moving averages are pointing lower. So it seems like we are getting lower levels on the US 10-year Treasury yields. The European yields, there we are. The EU 10-year touched the 263 support and bouncing this morning. If it takes out the lows from Friday, then we're looking at 260, which is key, and then possibly down to around 254, 55. The UK 10 just 465, just bounced above it, and the lower rising trend line there. If it takes out 465, then we're looking at 459, and that would be key. To the upside, 478 is resistance. Japanese, they are just crawling slowly higher, but really not doing much. Bitcoin in general, and crypto in general, massive move Friday, massive sell-off there on Friday, dipped to the 107,000 support, and then has bounced, and I think could continue bouncing up to just around 119, could be seen, but quite fragile. Ethereum massive sell-off and then a strong bounce, and to the 61.8 retracement 4,282 could be seen possibly up to 44.92. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and be careful out there. We could still see a lot of volatility going on in the markets, and suddenly these bargain hunters could stop buying, and bears could take over again, pushing stock market lowers, and we could see a lot of volatility. It seems to be very nervous times, and we're also slowly entering the earnings season. So let's see what's going. Have a nice day and talk to you again later.